and can be the extra little bit of information that puts you ahead above the rest of the other people applying for a job. Professional portfolios are a fantastic way to highlight your success and as well as demonstrate your ability to grow. I know that sounds kind of weird when you think about it, but when you're putting a portfolio together, you might start with like what you started in when you first got into college, and then you add in as you do more things, as you're part of more societies, as you gain more experience, and it shows this giant depth that you're working on. So the next big thing is, what do you want to put in your portfolio? So a portfolio is a sample of your career related skills and experiences, and definitely should be created in your own style, because that kind of gives them an idea of who you are and what you're about. So remember that these are your own strengths and your own accomplishments. This is how you start to market yourself and think of yourself in your future. And everything that you're going to pick and put in there is going to shine through and show them who you are. And this handpicking is just kind of going to make you stand out. So this is just kind of like how you learn how to market yourself, and you really learn how to like pick the right things. So you're going to want to start with a philosophy about yourself, or like you can always do like a career objective or like a personal goal, and just kind of give them an idea of like who you are and what you want to do in the industry that you're trying to work in. Like career goals, like I was talking about, you can always add that, where do you want to be at this point in your career? Like, especially if you're trying to have some longevity with the place that you're applying to, this can give them a great idea of what they can expect from you in the future. Also, resumes. I know everyone hates doing resumes, they're a pain, but it's good to have it in there. Also, when you go on an interview, you might want to have an actual physical copy too, so the actual employer can look it over while you're talking. Samples of your work, depending on what you do, like if you're working in marketing or maybe you're a writer, you can always have good examples of things that you did while you were in college or things that you had published before in a different career. It's all kind of some little parts of you that you can put in to make it more creative and more like you centric. So also you want to definitely talk about what kind of skills that you have. There's all kinds of skills that people can gain from life, from college, from everywhere. You can have like computer skills. Customer service is always a great one to list. And, you could have like actual job training related skills. Like if you're in the medical field, blood pressures and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. Definitely want to list at least 5, 6 of those. And you want to try and pick your skills that would actually apply for the job that you're trying to get. Because if not, they're kind of be like, why do you have this in there? It doesn't apply to what you're trying to get. So you definitely want to pick it really specifically, because you want to ensure that they understand that this is why you're good for the job. I do have a few other examples of things that you can put into your portfolio. So more examples, it's kind of like an itemized list that I put together. So works in progress, it's definitely something that you want to ensure that it's like career related, like things that you did, like say if you're a writer or you're working in marketing and you've worked up different like posters or different articles and had like different spreads put together, you could put that in there. Certifications, diplomas, degrees, awards. There's tons of different things that you can put in your actual portfolio that highlight you and what you've done and what you're working towards. Another thing that I am a giant fan of is community service. Now, a lot of people they're like, oh, community service, there's all kinds of crazy things. Yes, there are. I personally am a champion of a few different causes. I am an activist for the Alzheimer's Association and also a field activist for the Florida Suicide Prevention Coalition. I've done different events with both. Or if you do community service on campus for your fellow clubs and all kinds of stuff, you can list that. It all kind of gives your employers an idea of what you're willing to do and what links you're willing to go to help them in their causes. A lot of different associations that companies work with, they might do They might do community service projects. It's just part of their philanthropy. So you can always check and see what your potential, hire, employer will have and what they want to do. Also, if you have any memberships or certifications, like if you have anything you've had before, you can always list those. It kind of gives them a point to see, well, this is where they are and this is where they're going to, like, especially if you're in the middle of getting your associates or if you're working towards your bachelor's or master's. It's all a part of your story that you're trying to make this narrative of yourself. References are always great. You always want to ensure that you have it up to date. That's definitely a good one, because if not, they might have like a bum phone number or like a bad email. Try to keep it as up to date as possible. And your reference list is going to change and grow with you. You might start out with just having maybe references from professors or people you've worked with, in a random customer service job. But as you gain experience, your references will change. With the day and age that we are in currently, the world of Zoom and electronic everything is just kind of what we're having to deal with. So definitely list good email addresses, or maybe if they have a personal page and all kinds of stuff and they're okay with you listing it, you can always have them, have that put on your reference page. Other things, recommendations or professional references. There's a couple different ways that this can go. You have professional references, and then you have personal or like character references. So professional references can come from managers. They can come from any kind of supervisor. They can also come from professors. And they can really say like what you did for them or what kind of class you were in and how if you were a great student or if you're a great worker, and they can highlight your different great points. But if you have a friend that wants to do a character reference, that's wonderful as well, because they can attribute to like what kind of person you are, how long you've known them, like all the different things that they've seen you go through and grow from. So those are kind of crazy things that you can put in there. Remember that you want to use things that are relevant to you and your own goals. And you can always ask yourself some questions kind of when you're going through the content that you're thinking about putting in your portfolio. What will this work demonstrate? Like, will it give them example of your skills or competencies, or maybe like some achievement you had or a goal? Which skills is the organization looking for in the position? What is your best work? Which samples show the most skills and competencies? And please, 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 for me, practice selling yourself. Practice talking about you and your own successes. I, for one, absolutely hate talking about myself. You could literally ask anyone that knows me or has heard me speak. I hate talking about myself. I know I've talked to some of you about myself. I see you, Troy Moon. I'm just saying. And I find it hard. But I've done it over a course of, several times through school, and you practice doing presentations and stuff, and it becomes easier because the more you are able to talk about yourself, the better you can represent yourself during an interview, or if you're trying to pitch an idea, stuff like that. So what are the advantages of having one of these? So there's a lot of different advantages, really. Professional portfolios creatively showcase the narrative that you're trying to, tell people through like paper or online on LinkedIn of what you want to do, who you want to work for, what you can do for them, what your potential is. It allows other people to see your work and your strengths. It generates credibility. Like, it kind of is a starting point for like all these things that you can jump off of and use in your actual work life. Other things, it kind of like gives them an idea of what your achievements were, like what you went through. You want to make sure you don't sell yourself short. It's really easy to do that because you might get in your head and you think, nobody wants to hear this about me, but your story is important, you guys, even if it is just in paper in the form of a portfolio. It just helps people realize what it would be like to work with you and how they can continue their brand, or they can continue their company with you as a part of it. And potential clients and employers can, really get a great grasp of what it's going to be like over time with you. And it also improves the chances of you, like maybe if you're putting it out there because you are an artist or a writer or a marketing person who wants to share all these things that you've done, it improves the chances of you, getting noticed and getting and gaining customers, because if you don't put it out there, no one can see it. It happens. Customers are growing increasingly concerned with saving time and saving money. So it also gives them ability to look at your work and see who they're choosing and what you're about. And the big one to take away from this, you guys, because like I was mentioning about LinkedIn, it sets you apart, especially online. So say if you have a LinkedIn or some other type of online portfolio that people can look at. It can really set you apart from the competition, and it's helpful because you can actively change it, and it kind of shows where you've gone with the different pieces of information that you have. It gives a future employer a good idea of what type of work that you do or what kind of work you want to do. It's just really important to keep it updated, especially while we're in college. I was actually talking about that this morning. It's going to be different when you get out and you have a job and you're in the workplace, and it's going to be kind of a little bit the same. But right now, while we're gaining our skills and confidence and all these things, it's always changing. You might have one thing that you're working on, and then something totally different come up the next week that you want to add to it because it's something different. But really and truthfully, a portfolio is about, how do you market yourself, and how do you make yourself really that go-to, you have to, you need it kind of thing. You are your own brand and you are your own product. And this is where your portfolio really comes in handy. By picking the correct portions of your skills and certifications, community service, all these things, you identify who you are and who you're trying to get to employ you, who you're trying to talk to. One of the big things that's kind of been going around that I thought was cool and I wanted to share with you guys is know your USP. Any ideas what USP stands for, you guys? So USP is your own unique skill portfolio, all the little things that make up our selling point, all the little things that make up you. So it refers to niche, your niche factor that makes the product or brand desirable and different from its own competitors. So as long as you know who you are and what you're trying to do with your education and with your experience, you kind of know what's going on and what to expect, and you continue to work from that. Know your way with words. Know what these different things that they're looking for, show your personality, and definitely keep up to date with what's going on in the actual industry that you're trying to work in. That's another really, really big one, you guys. So keep up to date with any developments and news in your industry to ensure your knowledge is always relevant and be well informed. Read those articles, watch the YouTubes. If you know what's going on, you know how to brand yourself for that job. And one of the things that most of us have that we don't really have to think about very much is being web savvy. Now, not everybody is, some people aren't, but it makes it easier to promote yourself. Social networking is such a big deal now, especially now that we have, less, connectivity face to face. So social networking sites such as LinkedIn, like I've mentioned, or Twitter or Facebook, give you a direct, accessible channels of communication through which to network with people and uncover new opportunities. So always be on the outlook. You never know where it's going to come from sometimes, these opportunities for a job or to talk to other people in the field. So how does all that marketing yourself translate into your portfolio? So by tying everything together, your skills, your passion projects, your community service, you're packaging yourself in a nice little book that you can take around with you to different, different opportunities you might have, whether it be an actual interview or maybe you're going to go and talk to a dean of one of the programs you're trying to get into. It gives them an idea of what you're about. By doing your research on the company you're trying to become a part of, and by handpicking skills, making sure that every bit of your resume and collective works are just on point, you're making yourself irresistible to a future employer. You never know what they're looking for. It could be the littlest, smallest, randomest thing, but that little bit of organization and how you pitch yourself could be the selling point. And one of the big things is your portfolio, it grows with you. You know, it's expandable. It's an extension of yourself, and you are going to be continuously updating it. So don't feel bad adding extra stuff. You never know what it's going to be, that one thing that everybody looks at. So before we leave today and get to questions, I did want to leave you guys with a quote. This is one of my favorite Ralph Waldo Emerson quotes. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Even though we're all using these crazy tools to market yourselves in online or in person, remember that you are the product, you guys. You're educating yourself, you're working on your skills, you're doing all these great, amazing things to ensure that you are the best version of yourself. And never forget that being yourself is the best way to win over people. Try to remember that. It's hard to not want to default into I want to be what everybody thinks that I need to be. That's not necessarily what people are looking for. You are you, and that's what makes you uniquely you. And that was my presentation, you guys. So if you have any questions, please let me know. So you're welcome, Troy. Abby, it's kind of weird because I still am in the medical field in the sense because I work here on campus with mental health people. I had kind of like one of those breakthrough moments that you realize that you just don't feel like it's the right fit anymore. And I also have a very supportive person in my life, my significant other. And they're like, if you're not happy with your job and you have the ability to go back, just do it. And I know not everybody has the ability to go back to college. I know some of you out there who maybe this is your second chance, going back and getting different education or working on bettering yourself. You might understand that. You can work a billion years in a job and be the most unhappy person, but it really is true. If you enjoy what you do, it's not really working. You see yourself doing these amazing things and working, in all these different projects. It's amazing. Let's see, Jess, you would like more information on Florida suicide prevention community? Yes, I actually have brochures, Jess, by my office in Building 11. If you're interested, that will give you the information. Also, Miss Rachel Burns has that information too. I might get the e-version of that so I can send it to you. Please give me your email address, okay? So my portfolio, I do have LinkedIn, but this is my portfolio, you guys. It's in like a leather bound binder and it has different stuff. I have not updated mine because I'm a bad person. Well, not really, but I have all these things going on at PSC, and I'm probably going to update it this summer while I'm off. But I do have my updated version on LinkedIn, and that's what I use the most. There's a lot of companies that will actually hire, from the LinkedIn website, and I have all different kinds of articles that I've done or things that I've, articles that were written about me that have my name that list my accomplishments. Definitely, you can use those as well. And thank you, Ms. Rachel, for sending that information. And Jess, I am writing down your email right now, okay? And you guys are welcome. Any other questions, my friends?
I see one. It says, your point about organizing to highlight even small things prospective employers might be looking for stood out to me. How would you suggest organizing your portfolio? Tables of contents, tabs in a hard copy version, clear links online, all of these approaches and more.
So with the online platform like LinkedIn, and there are a few other places that you can use, but LinkedIn is right now the most popular. There are different actual like sections that you can fill in. Like there's sections for like your work history. There's sections for, if you have a portfolio of work. Our articles, you can list that. You can also list your community service, like what groups you're a part of for college. There's tons of ways to break that down. Now, if you have an actual like paper version, like I do here at my desk, they do suggest that you list a table of contents or at least have it sectioned off so you know what's in each section. So you can flip easily if you want to show it to, a person that you're interviewing with. My personal binder that I have here, and from my own personal like what I've noticed during interviews, a lot of times employers, like potential employers, will kind of flip through it as you're talking about certain things. Like they'll start at the top of your resume and you talk about yourself, and like have your booklet kind of mapped out like you have your resume mapped out. Like if you have any personal like things that you put in, that is your stance on stuff. Like say if you're in the medical field and you have a stance on certain hot topics, put them first. Then if you're talking about your education, you're going to want to put your different, like if you're part of honors programs or SGA and all kinds of stuff like that, you can have that with your diplomas and then your work experience. And you generally have like your references and everything last, because you're going to actually want to have your references and your letters of recommendation and stuff with a resume and a hard copy to hand to them, just in case they don't have a copy of it while you're interviewing. But definitely, Katie, try and get stuff together and maybe try putting together a LinkedIn. Really and truthfully, it's helped me and a lot of other people that I know of.
I see another one. What are some things that those getting ready to graduate can do to be more marketable to employers? Internships. I was working before and took 2.5 years off to go back to school and want to still be relevant in the workforce.
That is an awesome question. Because I kind of feel you on that. With kind of what I've been doing is every time I do something new on campus, or if I do something that's worth mentioning, I make sure I put it on LinkedIn first. I really do, because a lot of like I get maybe 5, 6, 7 hits on my LinkedIn a week from people looking at stuff because I updated it, because it kind of pushes you back up to the top of the pile whenever you add something new. Internships are amazing, especially if you can intern with like within an area that you're interested in or that you want to work in when you graduate. That gives you so many like connections on top of skills and all kinds of really amazing things that you can list in your portfolio or in your resume. To be still relevant, like I said, just try and do as much footwork as you can in whatever field you're looking to be a part of, and then know kind of like who you want to work for and what those people are looking for. Definitely if like say you want to work for a place and they have like small business, whatever, and they have kind of like an ethos, or they have like a certain like thing that like a motto and all these other things, like make sure you know that and know what they're trying to look for. Like, are they really into doing community service and giving back to their community? Do they work with a specific, group of people? Kind of dig and know what to look for within like that particular field you're trying to go for.
Any more questions before we wrap up? Well, thank you so much, Julie. I have truly enjoyed this presentation. I will definitely be getting to work on my portfolio as soon as we get off. I am just so excited. Julie has been awesome. She is in so many clubs. When she says she literally does everything, she's not kidding. So thank you to Julie for finding time in your day to give us all of these tips.